Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So today, inshallah ta'ala, as we continue discussing the book Al-Mulaqis Al-Fiqhi by Shaykh Salih Fawzan, Hafidullah ta'ala, and last week we were discussing matters pertaining to At-Talaq, so discussing Ahkam Al-Talaq, and we had started discussing matters that the author, Rahimahullah, or Hafidullah, he mentioned, Fi Talaq As-Sunni wa Talaq Al-Bid'i. So we start discussing concerning what is said to be At-Talaq As-Sunni, and what are those things that should be in place, that if those things are in place, then the talaq is considered to be according to the Sharia and was done proper and is counted fully as a talaq. Then he mentioned, then after he went on to proceed to discuss what is said to be a talaq or referred to as talaq al-bid'i. So he discussed concerning, as for talaq al-bid'i, that if any of the conditions that should be followed were not followed, then considered to be a talaq al-bid'i. Then we start to, then Sheikh he mentions certain things in, then we kind of somewhat expanded and went in more details, or some little details in some of the matters that he had mentioned regarding at-talaq al-bid'i. So regarding, we'll pick up from what where we had stopped regarding this discussion. We did not complete the chapter or this segment of the lesson, then we just add whatever is relevant to be added.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi qala ma'allif hafidhahullah. Chapter Sunni and Innovative Divorce, page number 335. It is prohibited for the husband to divorce his wife through the aforementioned innovative ways of divorce, whether concerning the number of pronouncements of divorce or its timing. Allah exalted be, he says, divorce is twice, then after that either keep her in an acceptable manner or release her with good treatment. Surah Baqarah, ayah 229. Allah also says, O Prophet, when you Muslims divorce women, divorce them for the commencement of their waiting period. Surah At-Talaq, ayah number 1. i.e., while they are in a state of major ritual purity, provided no sexual intercourse with them has taken place. In addition, when the Prophet ﷺ was informed that a man had divorced his wife with three pronouncements of divorce at a time, he ﷺ wondered angrily, is the book of Allah made light of while I'm amongst you? Besides, Umar ibn Khattab anhu used to beat any man who divorced his wife thrice at a time if he was brought to him. For more illustration, when the Prophet ﷺ was informed that Abdullah ibn Umar anhu divorced his wife during her menses, he ﷺ got angry and ordered him to take her back. All the previous proofs indicate that it is obligatory for every Muslim man to adhere to the legal rulings on divorce, observing both its number of pronouncements and timing. A Muslim has also to avoid the prohibited ways of divorce, whether concerning the number of the pronouncements of divorce or its timing. However, many men regrettably do not understand or care about this nowadays, and consequently they cause themselves difficulty and regret, and then they seek solutions to get their wives back, discomforting the muftis whom they refer to. In fact, all such problems are consequences of making light of the book of Allah, exalted be He. Some men, unfortunately, use divorce as a weapon to threaten their wives with, forcing them to do something or preventing them from doing another. Other men heedlessly use divorce as an oath while dealing with or talking to others. Such men must fear Allah and keep away from uttering the oaths of divorce, for divorce is not made to be used as an oath, but to be resorted to when necessary and according to the specified number and timing of pronouncements of divorce.
So that's concerning. So as we had mentioned in the previous lesson, or what have been covered, that regarding at-talaq, that we have the Sunni way which is to be done, and as we had mentioned that there's five things that the person should take into account. So that will cover regarding that one, that the amount of talaq that a person talaqs his wife by pronouncing one talaq. Second, that it is done at a time that she's not in her menstrual cycle, so she's not going through her menstrual cycle, so she's in a time that she's pure. Third is that from she had her last cycle until the time that he wished to pronounce the talaq, they have not have any intimacy. So no intimacy since her last cycle. Then also fourth is that when that she sits within the house to fulfill her iddah. So she stays, which is within the house of her husband to fulfill her time of her iddah, which would be 3 months or 3 cycles, depending on our situation. So that's concerning matters relating to al-iddah. Then we mentioned also a fifth condition, which is al-shuhud, that with the talaq, witnesses being present or knowing of the situation, is this required or not required. Then we start, so after clarifying those 5 matters regarding al-talaq al-sunni, then we went on to discuss regarding al-talaq al-bidi, and meaning that one of those rights were forfeit. So the Shaykh mentioned that either by way of the adad, that it can fall into al-bidi, by way of the adad, which is the number of talaq that are pronounced. So if the number of talaq that are pronounced, that they are given in one go, so the person in one sentence, or soon after in one sentence, that he utters all 3 in one go, then as we discussed that either those cases where the ulama discuss does it count or not count. Those who say those 3, if they are pronounced in one setting, that they count, and they will mention those who say it does not count. We discussed that matter in some length, and also the evidence for this. They will mention the second case is the one that occurs more often, that the one who divorces his wife while she's in her menstrual cycle. So the husband that divorces his wife while she's in her menstrual cycle, does this count as a divorce or not? Then also we had discussed the aqwal of the ulama regarding this matter, and the same thing would apply by extension to a nifas. So also if she's in a post-child birth bleeding, then also does the divorce occurs. So in the time that she's still going through her menstrual cycle, we discussed that the ulama on this matter, that the majumur of the ulama, that they take the position that it counts as a divorce, and that's the qawl that is taken by Imam al-Arba. So Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Ahmed ibn Hanbal, that they have the opinion that men's divorce occurring while the wife is on her menstrual cycle, it does count as a divorce and it's count against him. So that is, it is a valid divorce, it count as a divorce, and but it was the husband is wrong in how he went about doing this. The husband is athim, he's sinful, as he did something that he should not have done in the but it still counts against him. They will mention the adillah for both sides. Both sides somewhat use the same hadith or the same case of that of Ibn Umar regarding his case. They disagree regarding certain wording in the hadith when it mentioned that those who use it as an evidence mentioned that I will mention it's not a discussion regarding that part being authentic, and those who's been authentic, which the more correct view that portion of the sentence that it is not authentic regarding him returning her and not counting it as a tatlika, not counting as a divorce. That part of the sentence is somewhat considered to be not the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, but rather the statement of one of the narrators who went against all others. So one narrator mentioned a sentence, but many others did not state that sentence. So the only that's something which is the statement is daif. So overall concern as the aqwal of the ulama that state regarding talaq being valid or not being valid. Jumhur of the ulama do all concerning the woman who's in her cycle and she's divorced, it counts as a valid divorce, but the husband went about how he went about doing it was wrong to do it at that time, but it still counts as a divorce. Then picking up concerning the next that's concerning, we discussed that in the previous lesson. The next matter that is the author that he mentions that regarding concerning the next matter that is discussed, he mentioned the case of Ibn Umar, and we discussed that matter. that regarding divorce, that the person to take into account these matters or these conditions to ensure that things are done correctly, that these things are done correctly. Then the Shaykh mentioned by way of a warning and a caution that you find that many people not understanding these ahkam, but forfeit these rulings. Then they find themselves in a predicament where they need to seek advice and ruling from others regarding, is my divorce valid or not? So for the Muslim to be mindful of this. And also he mentioned that unfortunately also that at times that some husband or some men will use the divorce as a form of something used as a threat or to put his wife in place, that he would use the divorce: if you don't do this, if you don't do such and such, then I'll divorce you. Divorce is not to be used in that way. So divorce is not to be used as a threat towards one wife, but so it's not meant for that reason. And also that they may use divorce as a form of silah, as a weapon against their wife. So the husband is not to be use divorce as a weapon against his wife, or can somewhat try to use it as a fear tactics against her, or to use as something to bully the wife mentally regarding a talaq. So the Shaykh, he mentioned, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he mentioned the husband used in this manner, that usually cause more of a problem than a solution. So that's concerning of those things regarding talaq. We'll add as another of those masail that they discuss regarding talaq by way of having witnesses. So having witnesses. So regarding having the witnesses present at the time of the talaq, then also on this matter you find that ulama, they disagree. So a khilaf between the ulama regarding at-talaq being done with having witnesses present. So they mentioned on this matter of having witnesses at the time the talaq is pronounced, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned in his book by stating regarding this matter, where they mentioned that فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ أَوْ فَارِكُوهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. So they mentioned that either you keep them in a good way, meaning your wives, or you separate from them in a good way. Then it mentioned وَاشْهِدُوا ذُوِي عَدْلٍ مِنْكُمْ. Then it mentioned then you should seek having witnesses, trustworthy witnesses in doing so. If you wish to divorce them, then you should have witnesses present. Mention وَاشْهِدُوا ذُوِي عَدْلٍ مِنْكُمْ, that you should have witnesses present amongst you. So that's concerning. So the ulama, they discuss from that ayah in Surah Al-Talaq, is it what's the ruling pertaining to having the witnesses at the time of pronouncing a talaq? Is it a must? As I mentioned, وَاشْهِدُوا ذُوِي عَدْلٍ مِنْكُمْ. So it mentioned that as a command, you should have witnesses present. So is this something a must in having the witnesses present while performing the talaq, or it is something which is not compulsory? On this matter, there's a khilaf between the ulama, that they fall into two opinions. The first opinion of the ulama is that having the witnesses, it is something which is wajib, and that it is wajib, that is taken by some of the ulama, amongst them Ibn Hazm, and also Jumhur of the ulama take the position as something which is mustahab. It is not wajib in having the witnesses present at the time of doing the talaq. So Jumhur of the ulama take the position as something which is not wajib. But of those, Ibn Hazm, they mention, who say it is something which is wajib. Also of those who take the position of having the witnesses present, Ahmed Shakir of contemporary, and also they mention another, Muhammad Abu Zahra, that these are of the ulama of the past and also of contemporaries that take the position that having the witnesses present is something which is wajib. As we mentioned, that Jumhur of the ulama take a different opinion, where they see it as something which is not compulsory, but it's something which is mustahab to be done. But if it is done without witnesses, the divorce is still valid. The divorce is still valid. And that's called Jumhur of the ulama. And also others who have taken to that opinion, to the extent where some of the ulama say it is that not having witnesses, that some mention in ijma on this matter, but that's not the case. That is not the case. That is not an ijma, but the qawl of Jumhur of the ulama, and of them who take this position, A'immatul Arba. So A'immatul Arba, Abu Hanifa, Malik, Ash-Shafi, or Ahmed ibn Hanbal, that they take the position that it is not compulsory in having witnesses at the time of pronouncing the talaq. But as we mentioned, as stated, that Ibn Hazm, Ahmed Shakir of contemporaries, and also Muhammad Abu Zuhra take the position that it is wajib to do so. Wallahu alam, and Qawl al-Jumhur seem to be correct. They said of the ayah show that is compulsory, but the ruling is decreased from being compulsory to being something which is mustahab. They said that of the evidence is the hadith of Ibn Umar. So the hadith of Ibn Umar, that when he divorced his wife, and the matter was brought to the Prophet ﷺ by his father Umar anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ, that he told him that to take her back and to divorce her, and did not mention witnesses. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told Ibn Umar that you should take her back, but also then divorce her after she become pure. He did not state or mention witnesses being involved. So based upon the ulama mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, if there's something which is wajib, he would have mentioned it as the need was there, and given that clarity. So the fact that the Prophet ﷺ did not mention about witnesses with Ibn Umar, then it shows that it is something which it is not compulsory but preferred to be done. And Allahu alam, Qawl al-Jumhur seems to be more correct. So witnesses, it is better to have them but it's not compulsory if they're not there. And Ibn Uthaymeen, from what I can recall, that he had mentioned that with a divorce, that he kind of somewhat tried to mention if the husband divorces his wife in her absence, then he should have witness because she's not present to hear what is taking place. But if it is done between them in her present, then it can be done without witnesses. So you can somewhat try to look at the situation and circumstance. If she's not present, then having witness in divorcing her. If she's present between both of them, then he doesn't need to have witnesses. So that's concerning the general aqwal of the ulama on this matter regarding having witnesses and doing the talaq. So that's concerning those matters that he had mentioned regarding at-talaq. Aywa.
The spoken forms of divorce. There are two spoken forms of divorce. A, direct pronouncement. It includes the word divorce or any of its derivatives that indicate the husband's divorce.
Just before we go back to that topic, next matter that they discuss, that we just added at this point regarding the talaq. So I mentioned the hadith of Ibn Umar, that the Prophet ﷺ, that he had instructed Ibn Umar that he should take back his wife. Now, so in the case that a husband was to divorce his wife, but it was not done proper, that the Prophet ﷺ, that he told him that Ibn Umar, that I mentioned, Murhu, for yuraji'aha, that for him, commanded, instructed Ibn Umar that he should take back his wife, ثم ليمسكها, then he should keep her hatta tathur, until she becomes pure, ثم تحيد, and then till she sees her menstruation, ثم تطهر, ثم إن شاء أمسك بعد ذلك وإن شاء طلق قبل أن يمس. Then Islam mentioned that. So he mentioned that command, instruct Ibn Umar that he should take back his wife, then he should keep her until she becomes pure, then she sees her cycle, then become pure, then if he wishes, he releases her, and if he wishes, he keeps her. The general meaning, the meaning of the hadith. So based upon that, the Prophet ﷺ, he told him that to take her back. Is taking her back a must? The person, he divorced his wife, but he did it while she was in her cycle. Is a must? Is, for example, in his decision, the husband's decision, he does not want her back, but he divorced her while she was in her cycle, but he doesn't want her back. But he did it the wrong way at that time. So is a must upon him? He has decided, I do not want her back, I just want her to go. Is a must upon him to take her back, even though he doesn't want her, then divorce her again later? In that case of taking her back, then it means that he's adding to the number of divorces. Now, so making things even more narrow for him in the future. So if a case that he has no divorce, but he divorced her, this is the first divorce, but it's done incorrectly. If he takes her back and then divorce her, then it means they have now, at the end of it, will have 2 divorces. And then, so that's the situation. Or if he has 2 divorces and he takes her back, if he was, then what comes next would be khalas. The 3rd divorce would be pronounced. But the general ruling is that they discuss him taking her back, or raj'i in this case, taking her back, is it wajib or not? On this matter, there is a khilaf between the ulama, that they mentioned that of the ulama who mentioned qil, that it is compulsory upon him to take her back. It's compulsory in that case for him to take her back. That's the position taken by Imam Malik and a riwayah and Imam Ahmed. So there's of the ulama who in this case takes the position that it's a must upon the husband to take back his wife and then release her later. Of those who take the position, Imam Malik, and also a riwayah, a narration, Imam Ahmed. Jumhur, based upon the hadith. Jumhur of the ulama take the position that for him to take the instruction of taking her back is not something which is compulsory. It's not something which is compulsory. So it's still, and they mentioned that yes, the divorce is still valid, but it's not compulsory upon him to take her back, as in the case of Ibn Umar. And that's the view taken by Imam, amongst them of Imam al-Arba, Imam al-Shafi and Imam and the Hanafiya. That essentially is not compulsory for him to take her back. It is, if he chooses, he can do so, but if he wishes, he can not take her back. Because the essence of him taking her back, it is, the divorce is still his choice. It's still his choice, the husband. So, you have that discussion. So they said the Prophet command in this case is not by way of, they said, by way of an advice, not by way of actual literal, that is a literal instruction indicating that it's something which is wajib. Clear?
So was that advice given in the sense of to make islah?
To make islah, as the intention of making islah. So the intent behind it is to make islah and also to do things correctly. But because it still already counts, then it's still an option where these are your options. You can take her back and do things proper, or it's a call of Jumhur, you can just let things run its course. Even though you did things wrong by divorcing at the wrong time, but the divorce is still valid, you taking her back would mean that you've gone through now another process of you have to then divorce her a second time. Aywa?
Sorry, I'm a bit lost. Question is, if it takes, according to the hadith, if it takes her back, so it counts as one talaq.
It counts as talaq.
And if it doesn't, okay, I understand. Yeah.
So with the last we discussed, the same hadith, there's a lot of ruling is taken from the hadith or the case of Ibn Umar, right? So that we discussed last regarding talaq during the time of while the wife is in a menstrual cycle, does it count as a divorce or not? That divorce is a valid divorce, and we cover that matter. Now that it counts, Jumhur of the ulama takes the position that it counts as a divorce. It's a valid divorce, but was not done in the best of way. So, and they'll find that of others, Ibn Taymiyyah, of Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim and others, Shaykh bin Baz and others who take the position that it does not count. And because they see it as not counted, they mention that. So they mention of the evidence that they use at it, the time of that it doesn't count. That they said, we mentioned the hadith that they mentioned faraddaha, for the Prophet in some narration mentioned that the narration of Ibn Zubair, that for him to for her take her back, walam yaraha shay, and doesn't see it as anything. We said that part of the hadith, there's some discussion regarding its authenticity. And the Qawla mentioned that of the ulama who hold that it is not authentic. Of those who hold it is not authentic. Amongst them say it is not authentic. We have Abu Dawood, Ibn Abdul Barr, and also Al-Khattabi, who all that part of the hadith it is munkar. It is not valid. Nam. So, and also they said that they use the general hadith, man amila amalan, the one who does an action that is not from us, it is rejected. Man amila amalan laysa amrana fahuwa rad. The one who does an action from us that is not from our action, it is rejected. Yes, the hadith is, so I said, anything that is classed as bid'ah, but I say it is a bid'ah, talaq, anything that is classed as bid'ah, talaq, it is not valid. So any case, any talaq that's not done correctly and classed as bid'i, then it is not valid and not counted. So that's, but they use hadith. The hadith is general, and the case that we're discussing, we have text that is specific. So the hadith of Aisha, it is general regarding bid'ah in general, and because there's evidence that is specific to that case, then those specific hadith, then they take precedent. So that's concerned. So I said it does count. So I said, as for the next matter, from the hadith of Ibn Umar, that the Prophet ﷺ, he instructed the father to tell his son that he should take back his wife. But in this case, taking back the wife, is it a must or not? It is something which is mustahab or something which is wajib. As we mentioned, that jumhur of the ulama, some even claim it is by way of ijma, is not compulsory for him to take back his wife. But Ibn Hazm and others of contemporary hold that yes, it's a must for him to take back his wife. At times the ulama mentioned that there's something that Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, al-Zahiri, alim kabir, a great scholar. But if we find that he is going against jumhur of the ulama, then they are very cautious of the view that he takes in those cases. Because of his principle that he he's very, as I said, is zahir. So you find that Ibn Hazm rahimahullah is view that contradicts the majority and is the only one against everyone. In those cases, they take his view with a pinch of salt in our terms. So in those cases, his views are somewhat, they are not given the same attention when he goes against everyone. So I said in that case of the ulama of Qadim, of the past, he's the one who says it's a must. Then you find that others who came later, long after, who say that yes, you must take back your wife. So I said the qawl of jumhur in this matter is the qawl that is more correct. Allahu a'lam.
You said the qawl of jumhur, but you just mentioned 2 and 2.
2 and 2?
Yeah, then you said one of the riwayah of Ahmad and Malik say something, and then you said Shafi and Ahnaf say one thing, and they were both opposite. So what happens when you have Jumhur, 4 from the Imam al-Arba, 2 say one thing and 2 say the other?
Jumhur generally said Jumhur, when it said Jumhur generally concerned, if you count with Imam al-Arba, you will find that 3 against 1. Or you find that in general concern, you find the majority, including Imam al-Arba and others, but who somewhat take up, but Jumhur include that of the ulama include Imam al-Arba and others who take a position. So something I mentioned, there's in the books of fiqh, on many occasions, especially they mention aqwal of Imam al-Arba because that becomes the more established madha'ib, even though you have other aqwal. So they go around their type of view. So they're in general concerned that in the matter that jumhur of the ulama that Muraja is concerned that so what's it about Ibn Hazm is regarding concerning Ishhad, so mix up with Ibn Hazm is regarding concerning the case regarding Ibn Hazm Abu Zurha is the case regarding witnesses. We discussed that. So the other matter we're discussing just now, so correction that regarding taking her back, as we had said that of the ulama, we have the who say it is wajib, we had said that Malik and Riwayah and Ahmed, and the other view that say it is mustahab, jumhur including Shafi and Abu Hanifa, or the Ahnaf. Correct, jazakallah khair. So I would say that the qawl of jumhur seems to be more correct. The qawl of jumhur seems to be more correct. So sometimes we go back to the person who's the mufti or the sheikh who's looking at that case and his position. Nam, but Allah alam from what Qawl Jumhur seem to be, which is those who say it is mustahab, seems to be more correct. Aywa. So that's that matter. Comes to the matter regarding this particular matter can go into a lot of different points. We can somewhat try to mention them because sometimes these things that they occur often. Aywa. So then you go into the next another part of the discussion regarding ahkam al talaq, which after Hafidullah he discussed concerning what also regarding, so of those things that relate to talaq, that they put it also talaq into two also ways in which it is carried out, which is sariya al talaq wa kinaya. So sariya in a sense of when something is said, so sariya in the words that are used. So as-sariya wal kinaya is in relation to what is said. Nam. So what is said or what the person utters when he wishes to divorce his wife, what he says, then that sometimes has to be looked into. Cases where it is very clear and straightforward, and cases where kinaya it is direct, and times where it is indirect. What's the ruling that applies to both? So that's now going to be the next discussion, which relates to the alfaz, the wording that are used. Aywa.
The spoken forms of divorce. There are two spoken forms of divorce. A, direct pronouncement. It includes the word divorce or any of its derivatives that indicate that the husband divorces his wife, and it carries no other meaning than divorce, such as saying to one's wife, I divorce you, or you are divorced, or you have become a divorcee. In such cases, the divorce is deemed valid and effective. Yet if the husband says something like, you are being divorced, or get your divorce, and the like, divorce in such cases is invalid, as the spoken form does not indicate its effectiveness.
As the author mentioned regarding a divorce, the first type of, by way of the words that are uttered or said to the wife, that I mentioned alfaz sariha. So wording that are very direct and clear. So, and this discussion I mentioned, so the husband said that the husband was to say that said, I divorce you or you're divorced. Then those words that are clear, then it have occurred. And then he mentioned that if he says no, go and get your divorce. Then that doesn't mean that you're divorced. Clear? So he mentioned those words in that so the meaning of the thing that they discussed between the ulama, that is it a must, or they discuss with sariya, a divorce, does have to be said in Arabic.
So it has to be.
Yes, so that's a discussion between the ulama. Is divorcing one wife, does the person have to use the word, means to say it in a language other than Arabic? Does it hold? So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah mentioned in the concern ahkam of Islam that it is not, they all see it as it is fixed only to Arabic terms. So certain things are not fixed only to Arabic terms. So for example, in getting married, does the person have to say the words in Arabic? Or if the person say it in English or another language, does that still count? So the same thing will apply regarding divorce. So certain things it's fixed to Arabic, regarding, for example, salat. Now, so it said in mu'amalat, so you find in mu'amalat concerning general stuff, right? Buying and selling, so certain type of things that even with transaction, that the person have to stick to certain terms. So they mention that the words, spoken words in that language, if it is understood, that's the meaning that it comes with, then the ruling applies. Whether the person use Arabic or other than Arabic. So in English, that a person will use the word divorce and not the word talaq, it still counts. So any other language that is used, but what is meant from that word or understood is talaq, then it counts. So any word that is said that can be translated into divorce in any language, it counts as if you're using the word talaq in Arabic.
Because the word divorce clear cut instead of saying.
It's clear cut.
Because separated might mean okay, we're separated but not divorced. So you can't use separated, but divorced.
And the word separated. You understand? So the word separate, divorce. We know what divorce means. And the root that in every language and what comes with it as the ruling in every language. Now, so the next word, separated. Now, separated will fall into the next category of wordings. So the word divorce, then aywa.
B. Indirect pronouncement. It includes metonymic words that imply divorce as well as other meanings, such as saying to one's wife something like "you are free," or "go and keep away from me," or "go back to your parents," or "this is no liability on your part towards me." The legal difference between direct and indirect spoken forms of divorce is that divorce is valid once the husband utters any of direct pronouncements, even if jokingly or unintentionally. This is because the Prophet ﷺ says, "There are three things which, whether undertaken seriously or in jest, are treated as serious: divorce, marriage, and taking back a wife after revocable divorce," related by the 5 compilers of hadith except An-Nasa'i.
And so he discussed regarding concerning, so the next matter being discussed, so said that, so we have, by way of wordings, it's 2 ways that it can go. Direct wordings, whether done in Arabic or in another language, that it counts. Then we have the second type, which is kinaya, alfaz kinaya, which is indirect words. So it could, what you actually intend by this. So for as I gave an example, the person would have said, the husband would have said to the wife, "You're free from me," or "Let's separate. We need some time. We need a little break. Now, go to your parents' house. You have no." I think so. I said that. So these type of wordings, what you mean by that? Leave the house. Leave my house. Now, so what? So in those words, it could go this way or that way. So how we make that distinction? So that they mentioned that these wordings regarding the ruling that attached to it, if the word is sariyah, straight, direct, we're divorce. Then in that case, whether the person said it jokingly, unintentionally, or intentionally, it counts. His intention doesn't matter. Clear?
When you say unintentionally,
So I said,
how can someone say that to them unintentionally?
yeah, he might said, "I didn't mean it." So I said, "I divorce her," and I use the word "I divorce you," but I didn't mean it. I said to my wife, "I divorce you." Then he said, "I didn't mean it." So the fact that he said it clearly, sariyah, whether he intended it, meant it, or didn't mean it, or said, then it counts. Unless it's a clear error he made. Clear? That's the consequence. That's the consequence. So sariyah, you don't need to dig up and look into his intention. You said the word clear, it came out, khalas, it's finished. The ruling applies. It goes into effect. Joking, it doesn't mean, you understand? If I said a word, you're joking, the joke is against you. Because it counts. So that's concerning as-sariyah. Then the other type, which is kinaya, I would say the person used words that are indirect. Then in that case, as you mentioned, in that case, then one needs to now look into what did you intend. As the husband, when you said this word, what you meant by this? Leave my house. Let's separate. What you meant by separate? Did you meant? So he has to explain. What did you intend by this? Did he intend divorce or something else? So depending on what he intended, depending on which way it goes, if he intended divorce by using those words, then it takes the ruling of divorce. even though he did not use the word divorce. So it then takes the ruling of divorce. But if he said, I did intend this, I just wanted to scare her, I don't mean divorce, then it is taken as not divorce. So with kinaya, it requires tafsir. It requires for the person to explain as to what he intends. So depending, as for the hadith is mentioned, فَلَا تَجِدْهُنَّ جِدْ هَزْلُهُنَّ جِدْ النِّكَاء وَالطَّلَاقْ وَالرَّجْعِ. We have discussed concerning hadith, is mutakallim fi, that hadith is some discussion regarding that hadith between the ulama. Even some of the ulama hold the hadith to be Hasan. So that's concerning the difference between when words are used regarding talaq. Either the word fall into that category that are said to be sariyah, straightforward, the meaning is clear. It takes that, then talaq goes into effect. You don't need to ask the person what he intend. So for example, a wife said, my husband divorced me. But we're confused as to what happened. Okay, what happened? He said to me, I divorced you on the phone. He said, I divorce you at this moment. He said, that's what he said? And she says, yes, that's exactly what he said. I asked him, did you say that word? Yes, I said that word. He said, what? I didn't intend it. The fact that you said it and she heard, it's in effect. Your divorce. There's no, your divorce. It counts as a divorce. Because you said that word and it's explicit. Then the same case, he said to me, the answer is that we're separated. We need a break. We need a break from each other. We need to go our different ways. So going different ways, what do you mean by going different ways? We know they mean that we go a different path. You go one way, he go another way. But do you mean by saying these words, we're going to go different ways? It means that we're divorced. Is that what you intend? If you intended divorce but use those words, then it counts as a divorce. And the rule of divorce applies. But if it didn't mean divorce, you wanted to scare it, that mean that we might need a little break from each other, need a time out to reevaluate things, then okay, it's not a divorce. And you find a way to resolve things between yourselves. So that's concerned the consequence of those things. That's the impact of those words. So I said the words that it carries severe consequence of using the word talaq. So for example, I mentioned that the husband with his friends in his gathering and said, between friend and someone trying to boast, and so you know what? I divorced my wife and she's, 10 miles away in a different city. It counts. It counts in the book and you said it. So even though he may be doing it just in a joking way, the fact that those words are uttered, then it counts. It carries consequence.
Is that the same as somebody makes an oath and says, I think you found it earlier, but it sounds like, if I do this, then, or if this happens, then I divorce.
And that fall in different categories that maybe to be discussed. We seen that they said that talaq bi shurut or mu'allaqa. So it is attached to something. You understand? It's attached to something. If you were to do this, then we're divorced. So in those cases, that if is a conditional divorce. If those conditions are met, it applies. Husband and wife talking, said, if you leave the house and if you ever go into Sister B house ever in your life again, we're divorced. Next week you go into Sister B house, then you're divorced.
Or the way divorce can mean we divorce.
Huh? It counts as a divorce.
No, it can be like we will divorce.
No. It's talaq. It's
So, the word talaq, when it is used, you understand, the consequence can be severe. It's something which is a serious matter. So that's concerning as-sarih and other than sarih, which is kinaya. Aywa.
However, divorce is invalid in case of uttering any of the indirect metonymic words of divorce, unless the husband does intend to divorce his wife. This is because such indirect metonymic words indicate some meanings other than divorce. Thus, if the husband does not mean to divorce his wife when uttering such words, divorce is invalid and ineffective, except in 3 cases. 1, if he utters these words when there is a controversy between him and his wife. 2, if he utters these words when he is angry. 3, if he utters these words in reply to his wife when she asks him to divorce her. In the aforementioned 3 cases, divorce is deemed valid and effective as soon as the husband utters such metonymic words, even if he claims that he has not intended divorce. For the state he is in shows the intention of divorce, and Allah knows best.
So certain factors can indicate that he intended divorce, or become indicators that divorce were intended. So also the general shows the seriousness of this matter. That's the general idea. Aywa.
It is permissible for the husband to designate a representative to divorce his wife, whether the representative is a stranger or even the wife herself, as it is permissible for the husband to authorize his wife to divorce herself if she wants. The authorized representative legally acts on behalf of the husband, and thus the rulings on direct or indirect pronouncement and the number and the timing of divorce are implied as if he is the husband himself, unless the husband restricts his representative to effect the divorce in a certain way. Divorce is not valid unless it is pronounced by the husband or his representative. In other words, if the husband has the intention of divorce without pronouncing it, divorce is still deemed invalid. The Prophet ﷺ says, Allah has forgiven my followers the evil thoughts that occur to their minds, as long as such thoughts are not put into action or uttered. However, there are 2 exceptional cases in which divorce is valid, even if the husband or his representative does not pronounce the spoken form of divorce. The first case is when the husband writes down a direct pronouncement of divorce on his wife, provided he does intend to divorce her. Yet scholars differ if he does not have the intention of divorce by such writing, but the majority of them are of the opinion that divorce is also valid in this case.
So it discusses concern that in cases regarding another matter that is discussed, that the husband divorcing by way of writing. So he didn't say anything, but something was written. So in our time, text message, email message, because a voice message will count as if you said it, and you just verify, is that him, his voice? Because sometimes you have we call it AI can imitate your voice, so it does confirm, is this him? So a voice message is confirmed as his voice and him, coming from him, then it counts. If one have any doubt. So the other cases are the case that it is done by way of record. It is written. So it would mean that verify, did he write it? Is it from him? Type of thing. So if it was written by him, then the Shaykh discussed concerns with some of the ulama that when the ulama discuss, does it count or not count? So of the ulama who holds that it counts as a divorce. It counts as a divorce. And mean that, so it counts as a divorce. And those who mention that it does not, in the second view, that one look to see what he intended. So say it doesn't count, or it has to be investigated as to what he intend. So it becomes like a kinaya. It's not direct, so the seat is not direct. So that's the aqwal the Shaykh mentioned regarding this matter. So that with that case, that some means that if the husband sometime may do it once, but then he's cautioned, then do it again, then it counts. So Allah Alam, in today's time, I'm more inclined towards it counts the written ones. Based upon, especially in today's time, so there's a khilaf between the ulama, you have those who hold that it counts. Then also you'll find that in today's time, in our time, a lot of stuff is done by writing. A lot of communication. Sometimes I know kids that even between husband and wife, they do text messages more than they actually verbally speak.
Yeah.
They communicate more on with messages, written messages, than actually verbally speaking. At case I'm asking, is that now it's messages? I'm thinking, don't you speak to each other? But so writing today take a different role. Writing today now take a different role type of thing. So yes, concern that the person. So you go back and if you have a case like that, go back to the person looking at the case. If they see that writing it counts as a valid divorce, then it counts. If the person that it doesn't count unless the person actually intended, even though the words are clear. But what did he intend? He intended something as a threat, as a warning. So it needs to be looked into regarding what was intended. But as for my position, I'm more inclined towards if it is written, it counts. Aywa, you were saying?
I was going to ask, but I'll ask him.
Okay, so did I mention the second scenario? We end at that based upon time.
The second case is when a dumb husband makes an understandable gesture indicating divorce.
So that's concerned the next case regarding a person who was unable to or unable to speak. Then in that case, then whatever gesture that they make or writing indicating talaq, then that stands for them because of their circumstance. So that's concerning some of the matters pertaining to at-talaq that the author here, Hafidullah, have covered, and we'll stop at this point and continue next week regarding other points relating to ahkam at-talaq. We're off?